Welcome to the Human Together podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jason Floyd. Human Together is a show that is centered on humanity to create understanding and appreciation for individuals and groups that are both informative and thought-provoking. In this show, I've talked a lot about cultural diversity. In today's episode, I want to focus on equality, more specifically, equal pay for women. I'm going to focus on the U.S. women's national soccer team and their fight to get equal pay and their lawsuit against the United States Soccer Federation. But before we get into that, I want to talk about a few strong women in my own life. The first one is my hero, my own mom. Now, I've had her on the show before, but I haven't told you much about her. She's been married to my dad for over 50 years. She raised 3 independent-thinking young boys. And after raising the 3 of us, she went back to work. She worked for several years as an assistant in the Oklahoma VOTEC system, now known as Oklahoma Career Tech. Eventually, she was hired as the very first teacher at Francis Tuttle Technology Center. And I believe she was even hired over a man for that position. How'd she get the job? Probably because she could outsmart, outwit, and had strong industrial skills such as welding, where she could outdo any man. She taught the same program for over 25 years. And she's the main reason that I teach today. She brought me to work as a young child, and I saw her in action every day. My mother never sat my brothers and I down and gave us some long speech about how women are empowered and how they could be strong in the workplace. She didn't have to. She lived it. The lessons we learned were unspoken. My mother was respected for her hard work, her dedication, and loyalty. Simple lessons that did not go unnoticed by me and my brothers. Without saying outright, she showed us the value and respect of women in the workplace. Another strong lady in my life is my own wife, Diane. I make no bones, and I'm often told that I married up, and that is true. She is the most beautiful, smartest, and independent woman that I know. She also shows hard work, dedication, and leadership in the workplace. Like my mother, she doesn't have to give some long spiel about how women are important in the workplace. She too shows it every day. And I hope the lesson is not going unnoticed by my own children. And I've had the distinct honor of working with some amazing women during my teaching career. And one that stands out currently is Mrs. McCormick. She is a caring and thoughtful leader in my own school, who I have a great deal of respect for. She leads with compassion and care, and I'm honored to work side by side with her every day. Those are just 3 examples of powerful women in my own life, which sets the foundation for my next line of inquiry. Equal pay for women in the workplace. Maybe you've read about or heard about in the news about the ongoing controversial lawsuit going on by the U.S. women's soccer team against the U.S. Soccer Federation. If not, let me catch you up to speed. Forbes.com offers the following. The U.S. women's national soccer team has gotten a lot of attention lately, and for good reason. They just won their 4th Women's World Cup title, the most of any national women's soccer team. The team with the next most Women's World Cup titles is Germany with 2. This alone would arguably make them the most successful women's national team in the entire world. But tack on 4 Olympic gold medals and 8 gold cups, and it's on an entirely different level. Even with the tremendous success on the soccer field, the women's team claims it has received less compensation than the U.S. men's national soccer team, despite the men's relative lack of success. This apparent pay discrepancy has received lots of recent press, even before the 4th Women's World Cup title. But how much is the women's team getting paid less, and are they the only ones dealing with this form of sex discrimination? The article offers some interesting facts. The men would have earned a $38 million bonus if they would have won the World's Men's Cup title in 2018. In 2015, when the women won their 3rd Women's World Cup title, they only earned $2 million in bonus in 2019. Their 4th title win resulted in $4 million bonus. From March 2014 to the end of 2016, female players earned $15,000 for trying out and making the women's team. Male players earned $55,000 for trying out and making the team in 2014, and $68,715 in 2018. During the Men's World Cup tournament in 2014, the USSF awarded members of the men's team more than $5.3 million in performance bonuses, even though they lost in the round of 16. But in 2015, the women's team won the World's Cup title, yet the USSF gave them a performance bonus of less than $1.8 million. Members of the women's team are forced to play in inferior conditions far more than other players in the men's team. Artificial surfaces are considered less desirable due to the changes in how the ball reacts as well as the increased likelihood of injury. From January 2014 to December 2017, both the men's and women's teams played on artificial surfaces. However, the men played 2% of their games on artificial surfaces, while the WNT played 21% of their games on artificial surfaces. I think you're getting the picture of not only unequal pay, but also unequal treatment. As a result, they brought about a class action lawsuit. The members of the women's team that have sued the USSF allege violations of the Equal Pay Act of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Equal Pay Act is a federal law that prohibits disparities in employee pay because of sex. In other words, the law requires equal pay for equal work. As applied to the class action lawsuit, the plaintiffs argue that they're not getting equal pay for their superior work. I couldn't agree more. The U.S. women's soccer team is not alone. There are other instances in businesses and the sports world alike that show unequal pay for women. Where do we go? What can be done? As I researched further into the issue, I ran across an article in the Harvard Business Review titled 7 Lessons from the U.S. Women's Soccer Team's Fight for Equal Pay. I will offer some highlights from the article, but I'll also leave a link to the whole article itself. The first lesson is align with your team. In the instance of the U.S. Women's Soccer Team, all 28 members bond together to join the fight against discrimination. Lesson 2, collect data. The U.S. Women's Team used data to illustrate clear pay disparities. Lesson 3, appoint strong leaders. Strong leadership was a key tenet in driving team cohesion towards a shared goal in the U.S. women's fight for equality. Those were a few tips for employees, but what can employers do to ensure equality in pay? One lesson offered in the article is to review the data honestly and have an independent third party review the complaint. In matters of pay equity especially, you will have more credibility and trust with your employees if you can demonstrate that you're taking discrimination claims seriously. Lesson 2, take a learning and growth approach to the claims, uncomfortable as it may be. Do not go on the defensive. And lastly, recognize the systematic and industry barriers that may be causing discrimination, even if it's unintentional. As an organization, take some time to reflect on your policies and your practices. All solid advice. With the obvious discriminations taking place at the U.S. Soccer Federation, I hope the women come out on top. Just as in the Public Enemy song, fight the powers that be. Pay these women and respect them as true champions. Heed the warnings, learn the lessons, so we can all become human together.